The most common questions our travellers ask before arriving in Australia is, how do I meet people? Follow along to hear what advice we give to help you to meet like-minded people and forge lifelong friendships when you're travelling in Australia. Hey, I'm Clouds from Welcome to Travel, and before I came old and had to semi-retire, I was actually a tour guide here in Melbourne who welcomed hundreds of travellers just like you to Australia. Week after week, I was able to see a group of 22 complete strangers come together and instantly forge the most wholesome of friendships in a very short amount of time. Everyone in the Welcome to Travel team knows exactly what it feels like to get on that plane, headed to the other side of the world and wondering, what if I don't meet anyone? What if they don't like me? Will they be my age? Is anyone else solo traveling? In this video, I'll explain the reality of traveling in Australia and what it's like to meet people. I'll give you our top advice to make sure that you are meeting like-minded people and other travelers doing the exact same thing as you. I do want to start this video by saying that everyone is thinking and feeling the same as you. I think the reason that we stress so much about meeting people is we simply just don't want to feel alone, and we think that it's something we have little control over. Just know that if you're feeling this way, everyone else is too, and you're not unique in feeling this way, I'm sorry. So imagine a country that is incredibly popular with young travelers, going to the same destinations and going through the same emotions, and you have yourself a melting pot of like-minded and open-minded people looking to do the same thing as you. Regardless of whether you're a solo traveler, a couple, traveling with a friend, you're 18 years old or 35 years old, I would go as far as to say Australia is the best country to explore. Travel culture here is incredibly diverse, welcoming, friendly, and relaxed. Now, what you do have complete control over is ensuring that you put yourself in the same locations as your future travel friends. This means finding the right hostels, traveling the popular backpacker routes to begin with, and planning at least your first week in the country. This will ensure that you're not isolating yourself by mistake from the very beginning as soon as you land. Making sure you stay in the right hostel that matches your vibe and creates a space and atmosphere for meeting people is incredibly important. If you haven't experienced the hostel life before and are a little apprehensive, that's totally fine. But I would recommend that you stay in one as soon as you arrive in Australia, instead of booking yourself an Airbnb or a private room in a hotel, as this is isolating yourself straight away. By far the most natural and organic setting to be meeting other people happens in the hostel dorm rooms. If you're not familiar with the term "where you're from," then get familiar with it. These 3 words are the gateway backpacker code for making those lifelong friendships. That's all that needs to be said to spark up a conversation. It might feel a little awkward, and especially if you're nervous, but it is always well received, and especially if you're in a hostel. In fact, it's considered pretty weird if you don't ask the people in your dorm room where you're from or spark up a conversation. Hostels all over the world do vary a lot, so you really need to do your research and seek the recommendations from travelers before you. Or speak to tour operators like us who are on the ground and know the very best hostels all around the country. The most important factors to look out for are that it's in a good location and there are positive reviews that are also recent. If you can't at least tick both of these things off, then I would look for other options, as you don't want to isolate yourself by being in a really bad location and removed from the hustle and bustle of that destination, and a bad review consistently should just speak for itself. When you've found one that ticks all these boxes, the next thing is to make sure that they have a vibrant communal space, as this is where you'll most easily be able to meet people. You'll generally be able to see this mentioned in the reviews too, as it is as equally as important to other travelers as well. When I personally leave a review for a hostel that I love, I will always comment on its social atmosphere, as it's the memories of meeting people in the hostels that I cherish the most. My next major piece of advice is to plan your first week in the country. You don't have to plan your whole trip in advance, but the first week is a must. A big reason for this is your own head. Flying to the other side of the world is overwhelming enough, so do yourself the courtesy of ensuring that you're starting it off on the right foot when you arrive. And the best way to do this is booking yourself onto a Welcome Week tour. And this is the reason why Welcome to Travel was set up in the first place. The 2 co-founders, Daryl and Adam, who were once backpackers on a working holiday exactly like you, realized realised there was a lack of a safety net for travellers coming to Australia, and often they would either end up alone in the wrong places, wasting their money and overall having a negative first impression and experience. Now, as our whole team is made up of travellers exactly like you who have also been in your position, we know exactly what it feels like. And we also know how to avoid a horrible first impression and how to make your first week in Australia the best it can be. A welcome tour equips you with the tools, knowledge and friendships to eliminate those nerves and continue your Australian adventure with only pure excitement for what's ahead of you. Now, before I move on to more tips on meeting people abroad, I want to show you some footage from our welcome tours, and this will give you a realistic picture of just how quickly these friendships are formed. All these people were complete strangers at the beginning and were definitely quite nervous, but by the end had so much confidence and had genuinely created lifelong friendships. Also, low-key, many spicy relationships also tend to happen on our Melbourne and Sydney tours, so we're basically also matchmakers. Anyway, take a look.
Officially started the next day, but I did meet Caleb in the bunk next to me. It was his first time ever travelling out of America. Honoured to be the first person he's ever met backpacking. Hey guys, so this is Fraser.
Hello.
Fraser, tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, fuck off, no.
Fraser's Scottish. He is lovely. How did I meet you? I met you...
We met yesterday.
We met at the quiz yesterday because we had a mutual friend, American Caleb.
I got full marks on the quiz.
That night we all chipped in and made dinner as a welcome to travel family. We had this amazing curry with rice and it was so nice to just sit with everyone and like chat. It's funny how much you bond, honestly. Hello guys. So, it's my last full day in Australia. Saying that already brings tears to my eyes. Like, I don't want to leave. I've literally just had the best trip ever. The people I've met, it's just the people. You never want to leave the people, do you? And with Welcome to Travel, it just makes things easier, especially if you're a solo traveller, because you're part of a group straight away. It's easy to socialise, to learn to socialise. You work out how to navigate these crazy hostel rooms, which I promise really aren't that bad. You meet people who you can travel with, especially on tour like this. Like, I'm so jealous. Fraser, my bunk bed buddy, and Caleb, my other bunk bed buddy, and Avi and Charlotte, they're all doing the Great Ocean Road trip together, and I wish I was here for just like 5 more days and I could go with them. And a lot of people do that after doing Welcome to Travel. They all go travel together the Great Ocean Road. I want to be with them.
Everyone's playing games, doing handstands, trying to throw around an Australian football. We've got some really interesting characters on our trip. Simon is brilliant.
Now, there is definitely a difference in how you go about meeting people depending on whether you're travelling around or settling into one place for a longer period of time. If you're doing the latter, then I highly recommend you look into getting a room in an existing share house. This means you'll have your own room and your own private space to enjoy and relax, but also involving yourself in an incredibly homely and social atmosphere with your new housemates, who often do become your new family abroad. Share houses in Australia are very good at making sure you are a good fit for their house. It can feel a little daunting when you're meeting them for the first time and like you're being interviewed, but it's for a good reason. Nothing worse than ending up in a party share house if you're not into that. But as soon as you find the right fit and move in, your entire experience will change. And you'll feel much more settled and you'll get to know these housemates really, really well quite quickly. Then all of a sudden you meet their friends who meet their friends and you're being invited to something every weekend and you really feel like you're immersing yourself in the local community, whether it be Melbourne, Sydney or a smaller town around Australia. And share houses in the major cities are often a mix of internationals and local Aussies. A popular share house Facebook group that is incredibly active that I do recommend you join is called Fairy Floss Real Estate. Yes, it sounds made up, but I assure you it's actually quite legitimate. Next, I do encourage you to consider joining either something like a sports club or any type of community group that takes your fancy. I can speak personally about joining sporting clubs both here in Australia and when I was living abroad. These clubs have been the best way for me to make friends. I think it does come down to the fact that everyone there is already bonding over something communal, which is the sport, and so they're already in an open mind and ready to meet people, otherwise they just wouldn't be there. You don't have to be good at the sport, just join and see what happens. Grassroots community teams are always on the lookout for new players and members and are incredibly welcoming, especially in Australia as we are sports mad. Depending on the sport as well, they will often host a range of community events which are a lot of fun and great for meeting people. And the teams that I've been involved in, being Aussie Rules Football and Netball, have always been a mix between internationals and local Australians as well. Now, in addition to finding the right share house and joining community groups, a great way to meet people who become solid friends is at work. Apply for workplaces that ensure you become a part of a bigger team and one where you'll be collaborating with them closely as a part of your job role. There is honestly no better way to get to know people than working with them as a team. A great example of this is within the hospitality industry. If you become a front of house team member at a busy restaurant, cafe, bar, or event space, I guarantee your co-workers will soon become some of your closest friends here in Australia. Now I want to cut to some conversations we had with our travellers, plus with Welcome to Travel co-founders Adam and Daryl, who share their thoughts on meeting people abroad.
Obviously everybody's in the same position, everybody's nervous, everybody's on their own as well. Like, majority of the people that I met were solo travellers. There was a few people in couples or friends, but most people are on their own. So everybody is nervous, but then you like meet each other and you're not nervous because you're together.
Meeting people is the easy part. Like, everyone's more or less in the same position, and if you go to the right hostel, then you're definitely going to meet people and make friends. Like, I think our hostels were it's a little quieter and maybe it's a little different crowd that you're used to. But go to the right hostel and you'll definitely make some friends, I think.
Yeah.
Like, just to have that, meet those people, make those friendships, and then continue to just live and explore Australia together. That would be something special.
Yeah, we went out on Fraser on Christmas Eve. We had Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day, which is actually a really good tip for Christmas, is to try and do a group tour or something, because it was so nice to immediately like have a group of people. And everyone was sad because it was Christmas and they weren't at home. But the fact that we could all be sad together, no, we weren't sad. And also Fraser was really great because we didn't have any signal, so I didn't know what I was missing. I couldn't go online and see everyone's Christmas because there wasn't any service. Yeah, Fraser was great though.
Definitely go in there open-minded to trying stuff. Don't, like, when people say, do you want to come out on the first night, definitely like go out, do as much as you can in the early stages just to meet people. Even you'll be meeting people with, like, when you're out with Welcome to Travel, you'll be meeting people just on these nights out and little adventures that you'll be doing that you like keep in contact with and make it more enjoyable. So just being open-minded.
It was good to make connections with different people who are also staying here, so I don't feel quite as alone just jumping in and moving here. And Adam and Daryl have been so helpful.
It just makes you feel a little bit more comfortable about joining the group. And then, of course, when I joined the group, everybody was so cool and so chill.
Making sure that you're in a similar situation to like other like-minded people. So, say for example, if you're going traveling and you're going to an Airbnb straight away rather than a hostel, you're going to be really isolated and alone, and you're not going to be able to connect with one another. So first off, put yourself into that situation where you are going to be meeting like-minded people, whether it be like in a hostel, on a tour, like we do at Welcome to Travel. But even if you're in the hostel or like on a tour, you need to be very like open to a conversation.
Open to speaking to people that you might not normally consider would be part of your normal friendship group back home. Like, something I always find really interesting and I love seeing is on the Monday when we do the meet and greet, there might be people that from totally different backgrounds. There could be like a 10-year age gap, so many different life experiences. And then at the end of the week, they chose to go traveling together because although they've got nothing in common on the surface, they actually have loads in common in terms of maybe like their mindset, what they want to achieve, their ambition, their traveling goals. So that's actually, yeah, being open to a conversation is, the key.
Some final tips I will leave you with are to join any opportunity or activity that comes your way and where like-minded people will also be. I definitely recommend looking out for things like trivia night, boozy bingo, bar crawls, walking tours around the cities, or simply walking up to the hostel pool table, picking up the stick and asking who wants to play. I'd also recommend joining Facebook groups, and especially before you actually arrive in the country. Feel free to add yourself already to a group called Australia Travels. I'll link it in the description below. It's an incredibly active group and full of people in the exact same position as you who have decided to come to Australia at some point in the near future. It's full of useful information, travel inspiration, and most importantly, people you can connect with. We do own this group, and I promise to personally approve you straight away. Lastly, my main piece of advice that I always try and stick to myself is to always say yes to an invitation. You never know what experiences or opportunities you're going to miss out on if you say no. So you need to become a yes person, even if you don't feel like it. And when you become more confident, be that legend who makes plans and invites other people to join you. There's always someone else waiting for an invitation to try something new and meet people. So at some point, challenge yourself to be that person that brings everyone together. And that's a wrap for episode 5 in this working holiday series. Join me in the next one as I explain how much money realistically you will need if you're coming over to Australia on a working holiday. And for now, thanks again for taking the time to join me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.